Why Dean Phillips is not running for re-election to Congress in 2024. Time to pass the torch. USAT. O'Day. Dean Phillips, D-Min, is not seeking re-election to Congress in 2024, saying after 3 terms it's time to pass the torch. Below are your comments. Really, it is only 2 terms. After that a congressman gets a pension. Ever heard of that private sector? That is equal to his full pay and then cost of living increases for the rest of his life, and do not forget medical insurance that is far better than what the plebes get called Medicare. Once. I agree with Mr. Phillips, it's time to pass the torch. After 2 terms in Congress, and I have never heard of him until he decided to run for president, I see. And only ask how effective would he be in the Oval Office, and he would essentially be a trainee president. We do not have the time for tea. 2 terms for every public office. 10-year limit for court seats. But you're more than welcome to go back to the Senate to ask for your job back, as long as they can review your entire record. And the same mandatory retirement age as our military, 64. If it's good enough for a general, it's good enough. Must stop fighting one another and begin fighting for one another. I would vote for him based on that statement alone. Can't think of even one other politician who has made a statement like that lately. They have all forgotten who they serve. Examine Dean Phillips' record. He's just another Dino like Joe Manchin. The last thing we need in the White House. America's in decent shape, reshoring is working. Employment numbers are decent, inflation's almost back to normal, allies are being supported. Pay a bit more and reshore. Biden 2024. Next news. More addictive and harder to quit. Health groups want black menthol smokers to know support groups can help. NBC News. The Biden administration has not yet ordered a ban on menthol cigarettes, but health experts believe it could be a game changer for helping smokers quit the habit. Below are your comments. Personally, I don't think they have any right to ban menthol cigarettes or cigars. Yes, smoking is bad for you and there are high health costs associated with it. But what about alcohol or gambling? Alcohol is just as harmful health-wise and causes the deaths of others when a drunken person is ca. Getting more and more tired of the government interfering in our personal lives. Seeing as they cannot balance a budget and spending is out of control, how about voting them all out of office and start over again? Cigarette smoking has plummeted over the last several decades, due primarily to education. Let's stop trying to ban everything. In 20 years, smokers will be a small niche of society. There is no need for draconian social engineering. And they do that already, punishing smokers with heavy sales. If they ban cigarettes, then they will try to ban alcohol. If they ban both, then they will go after anything else they can. I don't smoke, I choose not to smoke. If someone else wants to smoke, go for it. Then if you ban menthol, it's my choice to smoke. Then you have to ban alcohol in all forms and no sugar in all forms, no gambling ever, etc., etc. Next news. The 5 extremely excruciating weeks of talks that led to the Hamas hostage deal. NBC News. It took weeks of secret negotiations involving U.S., Israeli, Qatari and Egyptian officials, the HEADS of the CIA and the Mossad, and the personal intervention of President Joe Biden to convince a reluctant Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to accept a 4-day ceasefire that is expected to free 50 hostages from Hamas. Below are your comments. Biden also remained deeply involved, speaking repeatedly about his experience negotiating the end of the civil war with his friend, General Patton, administration officials said. If Biden had so much influence on the deal, why were no Americans released? Either Biden had nothing to do with the deal or he is incompetent as a negotiator. NBC News to the rescue of Biden, that is. This stumbling, bumbling old man couldn't hold a coherent with his dog about what chew toy he liked, let alone make a contribution to this mess in Gaza. And the outcome is a catastrophe anyway. The terrorists have learned only one thing: they can kidnap. Pulleys. Biden had nothing to do with getting the hostages released. The man has been ordered to take shorter walks and wear corrective shoes. He nods off during meetings and shakes hands with people who don't exist. They probably have to speak through an intermediary with those heads of states, departments, since he doesn't make much sense these days. Next news. Representative George Santos says he expects to be kicked out of Congress as expulsion vote looms. Associated Press. George Santos said he expects to be expelled from Congress following a scathing report by the House Ethics Committee that found substantial evidence of lawbreaking by the New York Republican. In a defiant speech Friday sprinkled with taunts and obscenities aimed at his congressional colleague, Santos insisted he was not going anywhere. The comments came 1 week after the Republican chairman of the House Ethics Committee, Michael Guest, introduced a resolution to expel Santos once the. Below are your comments. Meanwhile, the Republican-controlled House has done They've passed no meaningful legislation and have twice protected Santos from expulsion. They've become the party of stalwarts and drama. The part one find insane is it says that he broke laws and the punishment might be getting fired. Expelled. But how about arrested and charged for breaking the law? Okay, finally the Republican Party has had a taste of being ethical. They have found their backbone. Who's next? Maybe someone who has done worse things. Maybe someone who has more indictments than Santos. Maybe someone who has lied more than Santos. Well, at least he's not eligible for a pension. He should have been expelled months ago, but the GOP is spineless and needs his vote. Next news. Many voters are weary about a Biden-Trump rematch in 2024. Third parties hope they can fill the gap. Associated Press. The 2024 presidential election is drawing an unusually robust field of independent, third-party and long-shot candidates hoping to capitalize on Americans' ambivalence and frustration over a likely match between Democrat Joe Biden and Republican Donald Trump. George Washington was the only person to win the presidency without a party affiliation. An incumbent hasn't lost his party's presidential nomination since Democrats passed over Franklin P. Pierce in 1856. Below are your comments. But the gap will not be big enough for any third party to even come close to winning. All they will accomplish is pushing the win to one of the two other candidates. Trump the Rhinoceros. In a 2004 interview, Trump told CNN's Wolf Blitzer, "In many cases, I probably identify more as Democrat," explaining, "It just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. But if you go back, I mean it just seems that." Trump the Rhino. In a 2004 interview, Trump told CNN's Wolf Blitzer, "In many cases, I probably identify more as Democrat," explaining, "It just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. But if you go back, I mean it just seems that the..." Next news. Fights over the IRS, border security stall wartime aid to Israel and Ukraine. USA Today. Congress is aiming to pass a foreign aid package by year's end for key U.S. allies, including Israel and Ukraine. Below are your comments. If this is necessary, then they also need to fund it through increased taxes and/or cuts to existing programs. But we're way too far in debt to borrow more money to give to other countries, especially Ukraine. Funding them should be Europe's responsibility. Biden needs to be figuring out how he can effectively secure our borders. That should be his main priority. Stop wasting our money on humanitarian aid to other countries. And stop sending them all of our military equipment. Until our own borders are secure, we shouldn't be helping any other nation. It's called compromise. The essence of politics. But the Dems do not want border security, and they want the IRS to terrorize the middle class and SME businesses. Anyone who believes that we need 87,000 new armed IRS agents to audit the top 1% is simply delusional. What is this big giveaway? Is this disposable money that will be destroyed if not given away? Sure. Seems that way. While we shut our government down, it might as well stay that way. Next news. People who are just like me will not be able to vote. That's nuts. Virginia to see first black Speaker of the House. The Guardian. Democrat Don L. Scott Jr. has come back from a felony conviction 30 years ago to lead the state legislature and fight for his constituents. Below are your comments. Here come the same song and dance of division. No one is treated any differently unless they choose victimization. Nobody forces anyone to commit felony drug offenses, and for the record it was the Republicans of Virginia who wanted to pass legislation that took the partisan pardoning board out of the equation and replace it with a fixed mandatory full restoration of rights for numerous non. You also cannot own a gun, so learn to play by the rules as legislator. That is important. The easiest system to keep track of would be you cannot vote if you're in jail, and you can vote if you are out of jail, regardless of parole. Not so very long ago, I would have congratulated him on his newfound position. Sadly, we have reached the point where persons of color can't even tie their shoes without a round of applause and or media attention, acclaim. So his success means nothing to me. Next news. Family lunch, some shopping, a Christmas tree lighting. President Joe Biden's day out in Nantucket. Associated Press. Biden then delivered brief remarks on the hostage deal, saying it is only a start, but so far, it's gone well. Because of the remarks on hostages, the traditional family lunch happened later than usual. Below are your comments. Has he taken less than a 4-day weekend since taking office? I know this was Thanksgiving, but he is always in Delaware from Wednesday through Monday afternoon. And he was working on the hostage release around the clock. Come on, man. I certainly hope he enjoyed his luxurious Thanksgiving at the mansion of yet another rich friend, as so many in the country could barely afford food. He does not care. It wasn't all work and no play for Biden, as he attended multiple meetings, and no doubt slept through them en route to a billionaire's compound. Joe needs a break after another year of monumental damage done to a nation one can only believe he despises with open borders. Next news. Biden. Conditions on Israel aid a worthwhile thought, but would have impeded hostage deal. HuffPost. As a 2020 presidential candidate, Biden called putting conditions on Israeli aid absolutely outrage. Ooze. Below are your comments. No aid for Israel. They already get enough from us. They are also not fighting an enemy that is anywhere near equal parity with them. It's American to have check and balance to complex issues. Conditions change, solutions change. That's life, just a journey. Only the strong are able to change their minds and adapt to necessary changes. Anyone can grandstand and do nothing. A lot of that has been going on. Joe is merely returning to his anti-Israeli roots. He is fully supportive of Iran and their proxies, no doubt in return for 10% of their oil sales for the big guy. I hate to say this, but I do not trust what my president is saying on this issue. This is a sad day for me. Next news. George Santos says House expulsion will be badge of honor in 3-hour rant. HuffPost. The GOP congressman, likely out of a job soon, lashed out at his colleagues during a lengthy interview. EU. Below are your comments. I find it the height of irony that the Republicans are probably going to expel Santos at the same time. They are going to nominate an even worse individual for president. There was a time, not long ago, where someone like Santos would be institutionalized. I'll be the only one expelled because people did not like me. No, you will be expelled because you broke the law and ended up an embarrassment to the Republican Party, if that is possible. Trump immediately claimed that his rants were longer, better and listened to by more people than Santos. The GOP has always maintained they have no respect for law and order. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you like it, please thumbs up.